Dragan Stojković is one of the greatest players in Yugoslav football history. In 1990, the brilliant midfielder was only 25 years old, and at his peak, he shined at the 1990 World Cup in Italy and was selected for the tournament's dream team. By then, he was already considered a Red Star Belgrade legend. When Olympique Marseille, one of the most powerful clubs of the era, paid a fortune for him, that meant Red Star will have to play in the 1991 Champions League without their beloved icon. And guess what? The still Yugoslav squad made it to the final. And guess what else? They played against the Stojković Marseille. And you know what happened? Red Star won it. In 2017, Philippe Coutinho was Liverpool's best player and not for sale. That's what the club told to a desperate Barcelona, who believed Coutinho was the only star name capable of offsetting the loss of Neymar. Liverpool turned down a 100 million euros bid in the transfer window and kept their playmaker. But 6 months later, Barca came back with an offer of 135 million. This time, Liverpool said, "Coutinho, thanks for everything. There's the door, and don't look back." That was in 2018. The Brazilian left after 6 trophyless seasons with the Reds. Ironically, the first season without him turned out to be Liverpool's best in history. They set a club record with 97 points in a Premier League that they didn't win. But what they did win with flying colors was the Champions League. In 1980, Franz Beckenbauer returned to the Bundesliga after winning 3 NSL titles with the New York Cosmos. But the team that brought him back wasn't Bayern Munich. It was Hamburg. With Germany's greatest footballer as their lucky charm, the northern club won the Bundesliga in 1982, earning a spot in the Champions League, back then reserved only for domestic champions. However, the veteran Beckenbauer was not in the plans of the Austrian coaching legend Ernst Happel. So instead of saying goodbye while playing in Europe, he returned to the US. And rather than crying for him, Hamburg stunned Juventus and won the only Champions League in their history. With Andriy Shevchenko, AC Milan won the Italian Super Cup, UEFA Super Cup, Coppa Italia, the Scudetto, the Champions League, the Capocannoniere Trophy, and the Ballon d'Or. Still, he had unfinished business. That final he lost to Liverpool in Istanbul. In 2006, he moved to Chelsea. While the Ukrainian struggled in England, his former teammates got their revenge on Liverpool in Athens. Dida, Nesta, Maldini, Gattuso, Pirlo, Seedorf, Kaká finally lifted that burden off their shoulders. But not Shevchenko. He had become the most expensive signing in Premier League history that very season. Keegan was Liverpool's superstar. With the club he won 3 English League titles, 2 UEFA Cups, 1 FA Cup and 1 Champions League, the club's first ever. Liverpool didn't pay particularly well at the time, and in 1977 Hamburg broke the bank to bring the Englishman to the Bundesliga. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or twice while playing in Germany, but never lifted the Champions League again. Liverpool, on the other hand, won it in 1977 with Keegan, and then again in 1978 without him. Sergio Ramos was Real Madrid's captain, icon, leader, and soul of the team, until 2021, when he pushed contract negotiations too far and annoyed Florentino Perez, who didn't want to see him again. When news broke that Ramos was leaving, Madrid fans panicked. Who will lead the team? Who will score clutch headers past the 19th minute? Who will launch penalties into orbit? Who will drop iconic quotes every other week? Real Madrid didn't just lose Ramos, they also lost Rafael Varane, his partner in 3 of their 4 Champions League wins. So, what happened next? Well, nothing. Madrid improvised with Eder Militao and David Alaba at centre-back, knocked out PSG, Chelsea, Manchester City, and Liverpool, and somehow, in the middle of the chaos, won their 35th league title and, of course, their 14th Champions League. In 2009, Barcelona won the first treble in their history. In response, Real Madrid signed Cristiano Ronaldo. Barca couldn't sit idle. They needed a star signing of their own, and chose Zlatan Ibrahimovic whatever it cost. And it cost a lot. When Inter learned Barca had offered 70 million for the Swede, Jose Mourinho agreed to the deal. With the money, he signed the strikers Samuel Eto'o and Diego Milito, midfielder Wesley Sneijder and centre-back Lucio. In other words, Barcelona paid Inter's spine, the one that won the Coppa Italia, Serie A and the Champions League in 2010, all thanks to the departure of a player who had been their biggest star just a year before. Roberto Baggio, arguably the greatest Italian footballer ever, just behind Giuseppe Meazza, played for 7 clubs during his brilliant career, but none left a bigger mark than Juventus. There, he won the Scudetto, the Coppa Italia, the UEFA Cup, and the Ballon d'Or. He won everything at Juve. Well, almost everything. The one title that eluded him? The Champions League. Juventus finally won it in 1996, the very same season Baggio left for AC Milan. After spending a decade in Cristiano Ronaldo's shadow, Karim Benzema became Real Madrid's undisputed leader starting in 2018. He reached his peak in 2022. La Liga title, Champions League trophy, Pichichi Award, and a landslide Ballon d'Or win. Since Zinedine Zidane in 1998, no player had won it so decisively. 7 months later, Saudi Arabia offered him 100 million per year, and Florentino Perez let him leave. Real Madrid entered 2023 mid-rebuild, with Joselu as their only striker. And still, despite missing Benzema, they managed to win La Liga and the 15th Champions League in club history. Saying that Ronaldinho changed Barcelona's history is an understatement. The Brazilian gave a soul back to a team that had just gone 5 straight seasons without a trophy. With Ronaldinho leading the way, Barca ruled Spain and Europe again. 2 league titles, 1 Champions League, and just the second in their history. A Ballon d'Or and endless magical moments. But in 2008 his form declined. Rookie coach Pep Guardiola arrived and made a bold choice from day one. Ronaldinho was not in the plans. It was risky. Cutting the team's biggest star could backfire. But it didn't. It worked too well. So well that in Guardiola's first season, Barca won La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League, without Ronaldinho. In 1985, PSV Eindhoven hadn't won the league in 7 years. That's when they signed a long-haired youngster from Feyenoord, who had just won the Dutch double alongside veteran Johan Cruyff, who was wrapping up his career. Ruud Gullit delivered instant results. PSV finally reclaimed the Eredivisie, and Gullit was named Player of the Year. In 1986, PSV returned to the Champions League, but it was a knockout-only tournament back then. They faced Bayern Munich early, and they were eliminated. Domestically though, PSV won another Eredivisie title, with Gullit now club captain. In 1987, Milan signed the Eredivisie top scorers. Marco van Basten from Ajax, that came cheap. Gullit from PSV, that was very expensive, becoming the club's record sale, only surpassed years later when Romario joined Barcelona. So what happened to PSV after selling Gullit? Well, you can probably guess, it's the theme of the video. That season, they won the treble, the league, the cup, and their first and only Champions League. Van Basten, Gullit, and Frank Rijkaard led Milan's golden era. A Scudetto in 1988, Champions League in 1989, and 1990 another Scudetto in 1992, and one more in 1993. That same year they lost the Champions League final to Olympique Marseille, and it marked the end of an era. Silvio Berlusconi and Fabio Capello turned the page. Rijkaard left for Ajax. Gullit moved to Sampdoria amid controversy, and Van Basten, plagued by injury, never played again. Nobody would have imagined it, but in their very first year of rebuilding, Milan achieved what their Dutch legends never did, winning the Scudetto and the Champions League in the same season. They crushed a heavily favored Barcelona 4-0 in the final, proving they didn't need their Dutch icons to rule Europe. That 1993 final Milan lost to Marseille didn't just have Dutch heartbreak, it had Jean-Pierre Papin too. At Olympique, Papin had won 4 straight Ligue 1 titles. He'd also lost the 1991 final to Red Star alongside Stojković. Still, that same year, he won the Ballon d'Or. In 1992 he moved to Milan, and at the end of the season, guess who Marseille beat in the Champions League final? Yeah, Papin's new team. Marseille became European champions without him. In the 70s and the 80s, Liverpool ruled England and Europe, but in the 90s they hit a dead end. The early 2000s were slightly better, thanks to a glimmer of hope, a teenage prodigy named Michael Owen. The Wonder Boy achieved something not even Keegan, Dalglish, Rush, Gerrard or Salah ever did. He won the Ballon d'Or. That was in 2001, the year Owen lifted the FA Cup, UEFA Cup and League Cup, now known as the Carabao Cup. 3 years later, Owen said enough. He turned down a contract extension with his boyhood club. After 8 seasons, he was tired of not winning anything meaningful, so he joined Real Madrid during their Galactico era. And in that very season, against all odds and logic, his former teammates won the most epic Champions League final of all time. Istanbul 2005 versus AC Milan. Michael Owen, just like you and me, could only watch it on TV. First, PSG tried with Mbappé, Neymar and Cavani. Then Mbappé, Neymar and Di Maria. Then Mbappé, Neymar and Messi. Finally, just Mbappé alone. And the result was always the same. No Champions League title. The Frenchman got everything he asked for, year after year, until there was nothing else left to ask for. Eventually, he joined Real Madrid, who, ironically, had just won La Liga and the Champions League in 2024 without him. But with Mbappé on board in 2025, Madrid won nothing. Meanwhile, PSG, finally free from their superstar, won the one trophy they chased for years. I told you this kind of thing never happens. It always does.